Now, across all the regions in Nigeria, clashes between herders and farmers have escalated. The major reason for this has been open grazing. Weeks ago, 17 southern governors declared a ban on open grazing in their states, following in the footsteps of other states. This has been receiving support from different quarters, with farmers and agriculture experts expressing optimism that food production will receive a boost. But after much silence, the presidency finally reacted on the issue, saying that the governors did not have the constitutional backing to declare such a ban, generating another round of reactions. With this statement, the president is receiving knocks for its comment. Now, joining me in the studio is Executive Director of Journalists for Democratic Rights, Adewale Adeoye. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Now talk to us. When you saw this reaction from the presidency, what came to mind, especially at a time where we are seeing ethnic tensions and we are seeing the level of insecurity in the country? A lot of persons have, voiced their dissatisfaction with the content of that statement from the presidency. What are your views?
Well, I was shocked, but I was not surprised, because it's consistent with the trends that we have seen over the past years. And we need to get it very straight that statement was signed by Shehu Gaba.
Yeah.
But in reality, it reflects the mindset, of the presidency.
How so?
Because the president has not countered him, even though we are attacking him and all that. The president has not spoken against it.
Just yesterday, we heard that the president is not in support of open grazing.
Yes.
That was what we heard.
Yes. There is a difference between political statements and the reality on the ground.
Right.
So, and if you look at, like I said, it's been, it's consistent with the pattern. I think around February, when the governor of Ondo State ordered armed, herders to quit the forest in Ondo State, the president came out, with a very strong opposition against the demand. So we need to look for a consensus, a way out, because this can snowball into a very serious national crisis. Of course, when we are talking about consensus, we have to look at the various fears and aspirations of all the stakeholders involved. We know that nomadism is an ancient practice dating back to before Christ, and that people go from one place to the other in search of water and food. But there have been a lot of changes in the past 1,000 years, especially in the last part of the last century, due to human economic activities. Indigenous people are losing their land, they are losing their forest reserves, they are losing their, their spirituality, because the forest has a lot to do with their livelihood. They are forest dependent. When you're talking about health, when you're talking about water resources, the local people, are dependent on these forest reserves. For instance, Nigeria has species of about 285 mammals, and then with about 203 reptiles, and bird species of almost about 896. And then we are talking about plant species of about 4,709. That was about some 100 years ago. Now they have been depleted by almost about 50%. So we are talking about biodiversity. That when you move your cattle from one place to the other, it has a lot of impact on climate change, on food security, on the well-being and livelihood of indigenous communities. And it means that you cannot go into these communities without the prior informed consent of the people that own the land. There is no land that is an ungoverned region that people can just move there and settle. So this is the dilemma. Land has always been a major cause of conflict all over the world.
Absolutely.
Look at Palestine, look at Israel, look at Eritrea, look at Ethiopia. People have emotional attachment to land.
Yes.
Is their life, is their future. So you can't just come and take over this land. And what they do on this land, they burn down the trees so that they can get budding plants, that their cattle will feed on. There's sacred groves. There are some communities that they have sacred groves that nobody else can enter unless you are initiated.
Yeah.
They have sacred streams. that nobody can go there. You see fishes there, you go there, you put your calabash there, the fishes will come around you, surround you, because it's about their culture, yes, their civilizations. These cattle go there, ravage the whole places, desecrate the whole places. So you are destroying the future of a people. And then you go to their farmlands, you settle there, you destroy all the farmland that people have labored for all over the years. And we have seen a trend that the others are also increasingly becoming armed. You know, farmers are being killed on their own land. You know, people are being kidnapped that are also linked to the same network. So, and that is why I think that was what informed the position of the Southern governor, that look, we have the right to protect our people.
Absolutely. As
if number one security officers of these states, they are empowered by the Constitution to protect the livelihood of their own people. And they came with that resolution. And I'm surprised because, you know, I'm sure because the 19 northern governors on February 10, on a Monday, they had a virtual meeting that was presided over by the Plateau State governor. And they said open grazing is outdated. So, I mean, and that one actually, the Southern governors only came to affirm the decision already taken, you know, by the 19 state governors. So when the presidency now comes out to say, look, what you are doing is wrong, or that is equivalent, you can equate it with spare parts.
Challenging the constitutionality of it.
So I think it's absolutely wrong. It's in bad taste. And they should allow, we are in a federal plural society where states should have authority over land and its resources. Should. In an ideal situation. Yes. And the land use decree, you know, gives the right to governors the right of land, and who should use the land. It vests in the governors.
And so perhaps this is why some persons have said that perhaps the Supreme Court might be the best, it might be in the best position to put to rest all of the back and forth that we are seeing coming out of this ban on open grazing.
It's a very unfortunate thing in Nigeria that when the Constitution is very clear on fundamental issues, people still want to go to court. Number one, they want to waste, you know, they want to delay, you know, their own, I mean, to create a room to prolong the process.
Right.
You know, if you go to Supreme Court, you might be on it for about 7-10 years. You know, and farmers are dying every day. They can't go to farms. They cannot.
Security is also.
Yeah, so it's an immediate thing, and I think that was why those governors came out with that resolution. So I'm really surprised that, you know, it sends a lot of very wrong signals to Nigerians that what is actually happening. Is there a hidden agenda? Why must you insist? Look at Niger State. Niger State has 76,000 square kilometers of land. All the cattle, Nigeria has about 13.9 cattle heads. Compared with Ethiopia, Ethiopia has almost more than 60. You know, Nigeria is not actually the leading producer of cow in Africa. We are about number 5 after Tanzania, after Sudan, after Ethiopia. So what is the big deal? We are not a big exporter of beef, and it's a private business. So why not allow people, you know, the nomads to run their own business? Why must the federal government take it as its own agenda? So I think it's sending very wrong signal to Nigeria, and we must realize that, you know, we are a federal state, and we must have respect for the values and civilizations of each other.
So if government is saying, are you saying now that the plan that government says it has in place, which has to do with the National Livestock Transformation Plan of, I think, 2019 or so, that it is going to put in place next month, and also collaborating with states that are in support or who are willing to go ahead. Are you saying that government shouldn't come up with that plan at all, should shove that aside, and since it's a private business, people who own this cattle should take up their responsibility? Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to say that appears to be a kind of extremist position by certain individuals, a kind of pharaoh mentality that this thing must be done. Because you cannot create this, you want to create hospitals, you want to create veterinary centers, when even many Nigerians don't have access to health. Then you are talking about creating these things for cow. And you must also be conscious of the demographic impact. If about 300 cattle herders decide to settle in a particular place, given the crisis in the Maghreb region, they may not go back to their territories any longer. They will raise their children, they will be interested in political affairs. You are going to destroy the demography, the civilization, the culture of the people that have come to take their land. And that's why people are, the crisis that you are seeing in Middle Belt, most of them has to do with the fact that people are giving land. And over the years, they begin to claim ownership. And then indigenous people are subsumed because of population. So this is what we are trying to avoid. That Borno State has about 70,000 square kilometers. Look at Imo State, just 5,000. Just like one local government in Niger State. So why must you come and scramble with the little that we have here? Oyo State has 28,000 square kilometers, a little bit above 28. Ondo has about, I think it's about 15,000.
Right.
So the whole of Niger State can accommodate, all the cattle herds that we have in Nigeria. And you see, they also collaborate with those who feed on we have special species of woods, like rosewood, areria, that they use to control rail tracks in China. And then you have Lebanese, Koreans, Indians working with them. When they set these bushes on fire, those people come there to fetch this and take it abroad.
Right.
Yes. So it's a very serious issue, and that is why the governors must rise to protect their forests because of the resources they are in. Some of them are also involved in illegal mining anyway. When they are in particular territories and they discover there are mines there, they collaborate with some people who come there to fetch these precious stones like kaolin, gemstones, fetch them away. So it has a lot of implication, and the best way we can go about it is to stop it. And I think that is the governors did the right thing.
Now, one voice from the north who has been speaking about this is the governor of Kano State, Abdullah Ganduje. And he said that we might only be scratching the surface, that if we do not look at the ECOWAS Treaty on movement that allows for movement on cattle, that perhaps is the point where we need to address this issue, because it allows for free movement, and that most of these cattle and herders are foreigners. And so perhaps we should look in that direction. Yeah,
the ECOWAS protocol on free movement,
yes,
it's not absolute. If I want to go, I was in Ghana some 2 weeks ago, I had a passport. They took, in fact, they did COVID-19 test for
especially
me. If I could
cattle.
enter.
Yeah.
No, there's no special provision for cattle or for, the protocols, the people can move around. For instance, if you want to go to Ghana, you may not necessarily need international passport. You can take ECOWAS pass.
Yeah.
It does not give absolute right that you can just go to any country and do whatever you like. And don't also forget that many of them also come from Central African Republic. Areas that are not actually, that does not fall within jurisdiction of ECOWAS. So it's not a blanket ticket that you can just move anyhow and settle anyhow. If you read the protocol very well, there are also conditions. You can't just go to, because of ECOWAS protocol, then spare part dealer, you just 2 trailers, you go to Kano, settle in the bush, and then it will be ECOWAS protocol. So we need to be very careful so that we don't muddle up the substance and content of what we are discussing.
Very, very, very importantly. So as it is now, that we're having back and forth between sections of the government on this, some are saying perhaps we need to have a roundtable discussion of stakeholders. And that as we have that, since it's going to be a negotiation, something still has to give.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Do you think that is the way forward?
Yes, we should not rule out debate and dialogue in any democratic setting. Right. We need to continue to dialogue. But I think the southern governors, there must be a lowest common factor. And that is that, look, we are talking in the context of terrorism, people importing weapons, using cows, put. So it's a whole lot, it's a global problem that we cannot just sit down and say, because we want to grant concessions. How are you going to identify those that are terrorists? How are you going to identify those that are herdsmen? So it's a very complex problem. And as we speak, we know what goes almost every week. People are kidnapped. So how did you distinguish between those that are herdsmen and those that are terrorists? And that's why the starting point is, look, we are putting a stop to this in order to protect human life, which is the most precious and the most important thing, which is all the most important thing when we are talking about sustainable development, is preservation of human life.
So now negotiation is one of the ways to go. But then some have said that this is just a statement from these governors. There is no legal document backing it yet.
Yes.
And that still leaves a gap.
Yes. But you see, if you go through the Constitution, there's a broad right for them to protect the rights of their citizens. Absolutely. And also ownership, and control of land and its resources. So if there is a need to do legislation state by state, of course some states have done it anyway. Ekiti State has a legislation, maybe just need to rework it. And I know some other states also have something similar. Benue State has a legislation, for instance. So if there's a need to back it up with law, there's nothing bad there. To go to the House of Assembly, and then the problem is that the federal government is not even debating the issue. They are not consulting with indigenous communities. They are not talking to traditional rulers. It's just a decision taken from Abuja. And you think that somebody in Imo State, somebody in Abakaliki, somebody in Umuahia, we just accept your decision like that without discussion, without...
But has the National Assembly shown, has their body language shown that they are in support of what the state governors are saying? Because we haven't seen that debate yet.
I think the National Assembly is polarized, and each individual seems to be desperate to protect his own parochial interests. Why some insist that, look, this is wrong. Some are saying, oh, it must be done. So I think it may be very difficult for them to have a kind of consensus. But I'm also worried that it appears there's a breakdown in the ideological content of the APC. Because if you have a party, a party that genuinely represents the interests of the people, all these things must be debated. And then you come out with the position of the party. And I'm aware that the APC in 2015 said the country will be restructured. You cannot have a restructured country where at the same time, cows can move anywhere without control. When we are talking about regional autonomy, we are talking about restructuring. It means that communities should be empowered to have control over their land and the resources they are in. So, it appears there is a small caucus within the APC that has taken over that leadership and trying to push everybody aside. I hope the party will sit down and try to address so that the party can come out with an open position that will satisfy the interest of all. We are not saying people should not do open grazing in the north if it's comfortable for them. But those who don't want it, they must have a say. If we see ourselves as equals, but if you think we are not equals, then you can impose your ideas on us and then we'll keep quiet.
We'll leave the conversation there now. Executive Director of Journalists for Democratic Rights, Adewale Adewi. Thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you very much.